Hi, this is Stuff with Kirby. Today I'm going to take a Raspberry Pi Zero and a Pimoroni Phat Dac and use a program called Shairport to make a Airplay device. This is going to allow me to play music from iTunes on my computer to a set of speakers that might not be near my computer, or even my home stereo, or even play from my iPhone to my home stereo. So let's get started. So the first thing I did was I downloaded Raspbian Jessie to a micro SD card for the Pi. I'm going to connect to my Pi Zero using the console cable. Adafruit has a really good tutorial on how to use the console cable. And then I'm going to also set up my Wi-Fi. On the Raspberry Pi site is a tutorial on how to set up the Wi-Fi. Works pretty good. So that's where we're going to start here. So I'm just following the steps here. When using the console cable, you can cut and paste. Saves a lot of time from typing in. So we're just going to put in the network configuration part. And I'm going to just go to the screen of the Pi right now while I put in my Wi-Fi information. So you see I'm using a Pimoroni Phat Dac along with a Raspberry Pi Zero. I also have it in a case from C4 Labs. And then my little on-the-go USB on-the-go cable and wireless USB. Alright, so now I have my Wi-Fi password and such put in. I'm just rebooting the Pi. We're using Shairport, and here's the GitHub page for it. It's no longer maintained, but it still works good. Here's their wiki on how to set it up. I didn't have good luck following it, so I found this tutorial that explains how to set it up. This tutorial also explained how to set up a USB sound card, but we don't need that part, so we're just going to go with the Shairport setup instructions and stop there. So here I'm just going through, gonna make sure my Pi's up to date. Gonna run that. Oh. Cutting and pasting all these here. Links for all these sites will be in the description. So now we're going to install Shairport. I really like using the console cable when I'm just programming the Pi, because cutting and pasting is a lot easier than if I had VNC'd in and then I had to type it all manually or open a web page on the Pi, which then makes it a little slower sometimes. As long as you don't have a hat on the Pi and you have access to plug in the console cable. I tried once just typing it all in. That took quite a while to set up. And then once in a while I'd mistype something and have to do it again. So while this is going, the reason I'm making this is so when I'm in the garage, I don't have to leave the phone sitting by the stereo in the garage. I can just play it through the Wi-Fi right to the radio. And then if I get a call while I'm working in the garage, I don't have to try running over to the corner that the radio's at. And my radio's fairly old, so it doesn't have Airplay built into it. So also while I was doing that, if you look at the next set of instructions, it talks about how to rename the thing. I always just leave it as Raspberry Pi. I only have one running in the house. But if I would probably set up more, I'd start giving them a more specific name. So it shows you how to do that. I'm not going to show that here since I don't really use that part, but it's there if you want. Alright, so now we've got that all set up. Now we're going to set up the Phat Dac. So if you go to the Pimoroni website and under their shop, you can see the Phat Dac. At the bottom is a guide for setting it up. We'll follow that. So there's only a few steps. It's real simple. I've noticed with using the Jesse version that I don't have this in here where I have to comment it or comment out the lines, but I cut and paste it anyways. I'm not sure if maybe an update in the future might mess that up and then I'd have to go back and do it, so I just put it in there now. We say that. So now we're gonna go to step 2, and I found I don't see this sometimes if I do the Phat Dac setup before I install Shairport or do the upgrades. So I'll just save it for the last. And that we comment out that, save it. Now we're going to do the sound config. Okay. Now we're going to step 4. I'll just scroll to the bottom here and add this little bit of information. Alright, so now we're all done. Just need to reboot. Well, and also disconnect your console cable if that's how you're connecting, and put the Phat Dac on the Pi now. So I've started the service. So it started. I didn't get any errors, so that's good. Oh, I'll go back to the Phat Dac. There it is. When I was doing this one, I was programming it on a different Pi Zero. So now I'm going to put the SD card in, connect the headphones, plug in my USB on the go cable that has my Wi-Fi, and now plug in power. We'll let it boot up. Goes fairly quick. Now I'm going to go to my iTunes, and over near the volume slider you see that little square with a triangle. If you click that, it should pop up and it'll give you your Airplay servers to play to. And for some reason my screen capture didn't show it, but it said Raspberry Pi, and then so now it says connecting to the Raspberry Pi, and now it's playing my music through my